Hey, what's up? Welcome to the next episode of Know Your Purpose. Today's topic is about Latinx thriving at a PWI. I wanted to do this topic because I think it pays homage to the month that we're currently in. We're currently in Latinx Heritage Month, or actually almost finished with it. So I thought, you know what, let's make it into a Latinx Heritage Month topic, but with the twist, with the college. So we have today Itzel and Eduardo joining me in this conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Itzel because I see her here. All right, Itzel, right now, and feel free to jump on when you can. Hey, Itzel,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Super
Got
excited
twist.
to be on here. Oh,
Where's the camera? There
like
we go.
that? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. I'm gonna have to hold it up. Sorry, everyone. This is my first live. If you're my student, you know I'm not like really on Instagram ever. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Hey, it's your debut of these Instagram
Right?
lives and actually using Instagram a little bit more, no? Like I know that you don't really use much of Instagram or social media, and but thank you so much for doing this and for being part of this video today. Like I was saying, to this we're getting closer towards the end of Latinx Heritage Month, and I thought, you know what, like this is a great topic for us to talk about, given that we're in this month and this is a college series of videos, and then we do this type of work, right? So, like, you know what, let's go ahead and talk about this. And I know you have your story to share. So, but before we go ahead and jump into that, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where you from? Where do you work? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Itzel Lomar. I'm on KTC. I've been advising now for 4 years. So some of you might be my students. Some of you may have seen me at KSJC too. I used to work with the students there, and now I'm working with the students at King. So yeah, I'm a Bay Area native, but I've also lived in other states. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Mexico City. So kind of like been moving around the Bay Area a lot too. I've lived on Fruitvale, went to school in the Oakland Hills, and then I attended KIPP in middle school, high school, and then eventually went to South Carolina for college and studied Spanish education there, and then came back and decided to advise on KTC.
Nice, nice. Hey, I think you brought up a good point. You are a KIPP alum. You did attend the KIPP schools, the students that we serve currently, and you are my coworker, right? We didn't mention that,
Right.
but sure, you are my coworker as well. So and given all that, like, what was like, what made you decide to go to the other side of the country for college?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I attended school in South Carolina. And the way I ended up there is actually a funny story. I was originally going to attend school in Mexico City, but those plans ended up falling through because of funds. And then, a couple of months later, I was accepted at Paul Jones University in South Carolina. And I always knew that I wanted to go. I always like wanted like new experiences, like to see new places, and I knew that I wanted to go somewhere else for college. So like my whole life I had been prepping my mom, letting her know that I was going to go somewhere else for college. It was a conversation that I remember we had often. And so yeah, I just like always knew that I wanted to attend school in another state, and I ended up doing that.
Nice, nice. And so all the way to North Carolina. And how was that college campus? Um, did you feel homesick? Did you feel connected to the campus when you transferred there? How was your experience in that first year at Bob Jones?
Yeah, so it was a culture shock when I got there. I don't think I was like really like prepared to get that culture shock. I just thought like, oh, I'm gonna be on campus. It's going to be like California. I don't think I really like mentally prepared myself for arriving. And then like even just the way like people spoke was so different. And of course, I got homesick. And especially in my first year, I was in another state. I didn't have any family there. I didn't really know anyone there. I knew one person who was attending that school, and who I was able to connect with. And she was my roommate, but we weren't in the same major, so I didn't like always see her a lot. But Yeah, I mean, just the way from like how people spoke in the South, people are so proud of their Southern drawl, which, a lot of people try to imitate when they're trying to speak like a Southerner, but they're very proud of that. And so even just like with that, like it kind of made me homesick because I was like, there aren't really a lot of people who are here that talk like me. And it was a small campus, so it helped me in a sense because it wasn't such a big campus. So I don't feel like I had as hard of a time finding people as I would have had if I would have attended a really big, predominantly white institution where I would have had to maybe look a little bit more and like done a lot more like active searching of people that looked like me. Um, but yeah, I always try to find that balance between like being connected with home, calling my mom, calling my grandma, but also trying to like actively be a part of.
Mm. Oh, it's okay. Okay.
Okay.
You
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
are.
Just like trying to find my balance between like being, yeah, trying to find my balance between like being connected to home, but also trying to be a part of the campus. And being like it being a predominantly white institution, there are different beliefs around like, higher education and all of that. And like in many predominantly PWIs, race isn't talked about enough. It was something that, coming from KIP, like we had always talked about, like there were always people around me that looked like me. And so like just like being there kind of was this like a shock to my system. Okay, like I'm not always going to be in places where like people look like me. I'm not always going to be approached by other people. Like what am I going to have to do to like be able to like be a part of this campus? Like how am I going to make sure that I feel like I belong, so I'm not always homesick and so I'm not always like dreading being here. And so I did that. I I knew that I wanted a mentor on campus. That was like one of the main things that I had heard that that it was such a crucial part of a student's experience when you're at a PWI. And so I didn't find my mentor until I was like at the end of my sophomore year. She was the only Latina professor at my institution.
Wow.
And I found her because I was a Spanish education major, and she led one of my classes. She was the professor for one of my classes. And she was so kind, and she shared her experience with me about like navigating higher education as a Latina. She was from Mexico. She loved her culture. She wasn't like, like you sometimes you come across people who are white passing, and they try to like fit in and like give into whiteness, and that wasn't her case. She was very proud of who she was. She was very proud of her culture, her roots. And so finding someone like that really helped me find my voice, and also like take pride in like what in the value that I brought to this institution. Being a person of color, you are bringing a lot to the table. You're a different kind of person, and your experiences, they bring value to the table. So she was like a crucial like part of making me feel like I was part of the campus, and making me feel like I actually belonged there, because there were instances where I didn't feel like that was the case. I was made to feel like, I didn't communicate well in English, even though like I grew up here in the States, because I didn't talk with a Southern accent. And that's not the case. Your communication is just fine. You can communicate perfectly. And there's nothing wrong with having an accent. And so, like I said, like you bring a different kind of experience and value to the table. And so I really had to learn how to like take on those challenges and really come out like with a different kind of like change my mindset around it, and really just take that on as a challenge, but still like pursuing my dreams, pursuing my goals, and just like trying to get the best experience that I could out of attending a PWI.
Okay, okay. I mean, that's good. That's good. It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's really awesome that you were able to connect with someone on campus who, not it's just a Latinx or Latina, but Mexican. I think it's as Latinx folks or people who are not Latinx view Latinx. Oh, they're all the same. You know, they all believe in the same thing or whatnot. They all can. No, we don't. We're not all the same. We all can't relate pretty much. Like even within California, if I'm from Northern California, you're from Southern California. We have different experiences. We just people with different experiences, and you being on the other side of the country. There's other strong, more communities who are not just Mexican, no? And we have the Caribbean,
Right. Right.
us and Central Americanos, our brothers and sisters, and from that side as well. So like there's that. Yes, we're all Latinx, but are we like we can't you can't just put all of us in one box. And I think that's something that it's people are speaking up about, and there's been more conversations about, and I really appreciate you mentioning that. But okay, so you have that connection with that staff member, that faculty, which I think is really huge. What about with students? What about in the classroom? Like, did you feel like were you able to find a circle there, like a group of friends? What did that look like? Did you feel intimidated at times within those first 2 years before you found that staff member?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I remember that when I arrived on campus, feeling like that sense of like loneliness, like it all kind of like set in, like I'm here by myself. And I want to like get to know other people. And you know, I'm just gonna be like really honest. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. And it was hard for me to really step out of my comfort zone and try to like get to meet new people. But I remember like my mom always telling me like, you know, you have to get out there because my mom is an extrovert. Like she will talk to anyone, pick up a conversation with anyone. And she told me like, you just have to like not be afraid of, you know, as scary as it may feel, like you have to try to talk to other people, like go to other things, like just like attend like events that they have on campus. And so I did just that. I attended all kinds of events. If there was an ice cream social, I went to that. If there was like a play or theater, like I went to that. And through those experiences, I was able to find the people that looked like me, and not just like I'm of a Mexican American background, but like Dominicanos and like a ton of other international students. I know that a lot of international students were like in the business major, and a lot of them like would attend like ice cream socials or something like that. And so like I would like tag along with some of my friends and like try to like, you know, like we would all like meet together. Like we would just like find each other. You know, people that look like you are usually always trying to find other people that look like them that also have the same experiences. You know, people are waiting to be found just like you. And so you just like have to get out there, and you really have to step out of your comfort zone. And that's coming from an introvert. But that really helped. And I was able to find friends in a lot of, I had like friends from different circles, like different majors. I was also an active member of the community, you know, outside of the university. I remember I would translate for the Salvation Army and meet other college students that were not from Bob Jones, that were from other private schools in the nearby towns. You know, I also was doing student teaching for 2 years, and I was able to also like meet other you know, Latinx folks that were teaching too at those schools, and make those connections beyond the school. So yeah, always just make sure that you're trying to attend these different activities. I know it might sound scary to like go and like talk to people, but once you get into the hang of things, like everything's gonna be fine, and you gain that confidence of like going and putting yourself out there and talking to new people. There are other people that are waiting to find other people and get those connections. So don't be afraid of that. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, someone just doesn't talk to you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be okay. It's going
I
to be
make the
okay.
I make the connection to what you're saying when, like, you know, when a teacher in the classroom professor says, someone ask a question, like, don't stay quiet because there's someone else in the classroom who may have the same question, right? Remember, well, I don't know
Right.
if I said that to you
Exactly.
in class. Same thing in this situation. Like, if putting yourself out there, definitely, especially for free ice cream, I would definitely be there. But yeah, being putting yourself out there. When I attended San Jose State, it's not a PWI, right? I have different experience as you and the other and our other speaker, but I was also like alone. I didn't know anybody. I was just in my dorm, going to class, coming back. I knew one or two people from class, but you know, we just met. So it was kind of weird. I'm like, hey, can I hang out? So that
Right.
first semester
Yeah.
was tough for sure, and then it wasn't until my next semester I started slowly pull myself out there, being kind of pushed to like explore certain organizations, and I joined the fraternity that I joined, and that kind of like, again, putting myself out to go up to these tables that can be students coming up to you, giving you a flyer, trying to talk to you, like, leave me alone, especially like you said, if you're an introvert. And I might sound like I'm really talkative and social, but I'm also like I can be an introvert too at times. Like I would say, growing up, I was always an introvert, and then slowly, like something just happened, and boom, like I'm like I don't stop talking. But I think
Yeah.
that really helped me putting myself out there and talking to folks and joining something and being in different circles has helped me be less and feel more confident in what I gotta say and things that I want to do. And but so that's a huge thing. And on top, like you said, the networking is huge. Like putting yourself out
Yeah.
there, get to meet people, professors, students, people from outside the campus, all that can. And along the way, you never know. You may need a letter of rec, or you may need someone to collaborate with something or a job, and some of these folks may be working or know someone that can benefit you along the way. So
Exactly, yeah. And I also just like want to make a point that like you don't have to go into like all these activities expecting to like make a big group of friends. Like, it's a process. Like building relationships is a process. You can go in with like having in mind that you want to meet at least one new person. And like that's what happened to me. Like I didn't go in and like just like magically like talk to like a big group of people and just became a part of a big group of people. Like sometimes I would just like talk to one person
mhm.
and became friends with them, and then like found other opportunities to like meet their friends and like get that like bigger network and like try and like be a part of a bigger group. Like I remember like I went to a theater thing one time because I had one friend in theater, and by my senior year I was like helping with like hair and makeup, like involved in that. Like I talked to one person who had done study abroad. Like by the end of it I was part of the study abroad program. And there were a ton of other opportunities that I was able to learn about, and gained like a lot of experience from, and friends and connections and that network, because I met that one person and I went to that one event, and I was able to like put myself out there and just like see like what came of it. And the end result is a lot more comforting than thinking of like, oh, like what's the worst that can happen, or like thinking of like the worst outcome. Like go into these things like with a positive mindset, like so much good can come out of it.
Yeah. It can be intimidating though. It's not easy, and so we're not trying to say that it's easy. Everything's gonna be
Yeah,
like
no, absolutely not.
it'll be
Yeah.
you'll feel like I don't belong here and I need to leave. And I was part of that too. Like I try to be in spaces where I'm like I don't connect with any of these folks. Like I don't think I'm coming back, and it's totally fair and it's totally cool. But just again, putting yourself out there sometimes, and it's scary for sure, intimidating. But just staying within our own circle and like not doing any of these things, it's will be really hard to adapt to a new environment, especially like a PWI. So.
Right.
Uh, but thank you, Ted. We are at time.
Thank you.
Respect your time as well, and thank you for joining me in this conversation. We can continue going because there's a lot to unwrap, but it was a good conversation. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Right. Thank you so much, Benjamín. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
All right, so now we thank you, Ted, again. Thank you so much for joining, and now we're going to invite Eduardo to join the conversation. Let me go ahead and invite him. Here he is. Let me see. I'm sending that request. See if he accepts. But Eduardo is another. He's a current student right now. So hey, here he is.
I know, I'm here, I'm here.
Hey, what's going on? See the
I
see
know that bigote.
the little bigote, a little
I
competition.
know, sheesh.
Very nice. But yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me and in this. Like, where are you currently? Are you home?
Yeah, I'm home right now in Healdsburg,
Nice.
California, so Sonoma County. So yeah,
Nice. Well, thank you for joining me with this again, Eduardo. I know I would call you Lalo, but we're gonna keep it Eduardo this
we're gonna keep it professional.
time. So I know Eduardo. He's a student who's from Northern California. He's actually part of my wife's family. He's we say primo. So I thought I would invite him because he has a unique story to share with in this space. And yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about you, like where you're from. You kind of said it, but where you're from, where you're attending
Yeah.
college. What's your major?
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Eduardo Garcia. I born and raised in Northern California, so Sonoma County. But my parents, my dad's from Querétaro, my mom's from Michoacán, proudly. Um, Growing up here, like soccer, all those things. Like Benjamín said, primos con primos, cuñados, casi ya. But I spent my life in the public school system until middle school when I got a scholarship from my local Healdsburg Junior High, Healdsburg Middle School, to a private, elite, predominantly white institution, high school up in Sonoma County called Sonoma Academy, where I spent 4 years. Um, and then from there, I graduated, and now I'm currently a junior at Occidental College in Northeast LA, where I study diplomacy and world affairs, so international relations with a focus on Latin America. So human rights in Latin America, global political economy in Latin America. And then I also study Spanish literature, and that's more medieval. So Cervantes, a lot of old Catholic texts that absolutely is brutal to read. Um, it sucks. But right now, I'm actually writing my senior thesis for my Spanish major. So I'm going to finish that up a year early and get that out of the way for next year when I'm writing my senior thesis for my international relations major. I have a little bit more time and everything. So yeah.
That's super cool, man. Like I know that when you started college, it was, let's say something different to what you have now. And I've seen you have, as an outsider, from your college experience, seeing you like develop into like your mentality and your experience to something different. And I think it's super, super awesome how you've evolved. But we can talk about Cervantes
All
some of
day.
talk about that. Trust me, I'm also a Spanish background major with Latin American focus, so that's another thing for sure. We can unwrap some other day. But I mean, like, how do you identify yourself?
I definitely I always introduce myself as Latino just because I think that's more I don't know, it's easier just to say for the broader audience, but I do definitely identify as like a Mexican cis man, you know. Um Proud of it. I think that identification though has changed throughout my life. I think there were times in high school, especially, where I was less proud of that name. Right? I wouldn't. I have my head shaved right now, and I have my bigote growing and everything. But I definitely think in a different point of my life. I'm only 20 now, which is crazy to say a different point of my life. But when I was 16, 17, I think I was really trying to identify more with my white surroundings. But now I definitely identify as the Mexican man that my parents raised me to be, with all of that comes with that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's what I've, like I said, that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
As through social media, you've been very active, and which I think it's super awesome. You're connecting with your roots and continue to explore that side of you, and not let your surroundings, your community, the spaces that you might be in, dictate otherwise. So, how has that, being an Oxy, coming from a high school that was, like you said, private high school, predominantly white. Now you're being at an Oxy college, Occidental College, um, which is predominantly white as well. Correct me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you able to continue exploring your identity in a surrounding like that? Like, what helped you evolve into Eduardo that I'm seeing here today?
Yeah. I think that it was a lot of pain. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of crying, anxiety, all of these different episodes that you go through growing up. But in high school, like, lo rechacé. Like, I don't know. Like, I was very much against my Mexican identity, right? I think it was survival at that point in high school, trying to fit in and all of that stuff. But all of that pain of trying to fit in into a new situation, trying to adapt to a white audience, be in white spaces, because in high school, more often than not, I was the only Latino within a classroom, right? But that pain and that growth that occurred during high school made my transition to college actually a lot easier, right? Because when I went to college at high school, I think there was like probably like 20, max 30 Latinos in a school of 350 kids. So when I go to a predominantly white institution where it's 2,500 kids and there's 300, 400 Latinos, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, holy crap, right? And there's Dominicans and there's people from El Salvador, and there's all these things. I'm like, my eyes open up and I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I was able actually to really feel a lot more comfortable going into college through that pain that I experienced in high school, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And something about, as you mentioned, Latinos or Latinx folks, like Latinx cultures or folks, like we're very proud of our background, no? And so it's maybe hopefully that was an opportunity also for you to like see other more Latinx folks within the same system that you were in, being very proud and being very vocal potentially of their background. That inspired you, right? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think outside of just um outside of just being around different types of Latinos in the university, right, at the college level, being in Northeast Los Angeles, one, it's being gentrified right now, but historically it was very Latino community and not just Mexican, right? So I can walk down the street, grab pupusas, walk down the street, get tacos, walk down the street, get huaraches and all these different things. And through that, I continue to develop my identity as a Mexican man, right? As being Latino in this space, because being around other people that are proud of their identity makes it much easier for you to be proud of your identity. That's what I believe. And I remember during my orientation process, I think I'm still trying to figure that out, right? And one of my friends who passed away, rest in peace, Jaden Burris, but he was the first person that I met at college that said, empowered me and said, it's okay to be proud and Latino, right? His mom was Puerto Rican, his dad was black, and he was so proud and so vibrant and all of these things, right? And seeing someone else like that allowed me to open up, right? To blast like rancheras and all of these things in my dorm room, and to be yelling, playing FIFA and all this stuff with my friends, right? Like identifying with that allowed me to grow and allowed me to be vulnerable in these different spaces, which enabled growth.
You bring a really good point, which I didn't really. Again, I as a person who did not attend a PWI and who was born and raised in a town with like 80% immigrant families, Latinx families around me all the time. You coming from Hillsburg or Northern California, which that's maybe not the case, right?
Mhm.
Especially in the school systems in or before college. You make a really good point about like being in Northeast LA, and okay, the community on campus could be one thing, but then once you walk out the campus, it's a whole different world, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. That's helped you also find a little bit about you by exploring the community that you're in. And so, I mean, I know we're getting closer to the time, but I don't want to cut this off so fast. So, can you tell me a little bit about more? Like, what are you doing on campus? What are you doing in the community? Are you
Yeah.
involved? I see you on social media, but again,
Mhm.
for folks to hear, like,
Yeah.
what do you like? How does that help you as well?
I do my best to be as involved as is healthy for me, if that makes sense, right? So I think a lot of times when our Latino folk are struggling with imposter syndrome or stuff like that, they can often take on too much, right? And I think this is really important for incoming college students as well. As you can take on too much to try to prove yourself to others, right? To think that others see you. So I think I learned that lesson the hard way, definitely my first year, but now I've kind of took it back a little bit. So I'm my ASOC, or my like Associated Students of Occidental College, like kind of like our school government, my junior class senator, right? So that's one of my titles. I was also on committees over the summer to help plan out our attempted return to the fall. I've also worked as research assistants. Currently, I'm an education and action facilitator, so kind of like a TA for an arts class that works with the community and works with the Latin American community, specifically in Northeast LA, playing pickup soccer and things like that, you know. So yeah.
Some FIFA. I know you still play
Some
FIFA.
FIFA, yeah.
That's super awesome, man. And I think you bring such another good point. Again, like this is so awesome why we do this. This is why I provide these. I'm doing these videos because of not doing so much.
Yeah.
Of trying to prove yourself. That's huge. That's huge, man. Like I have a lot of my students right now, even that they work because they have to work. They try to be students. They try to be. They're also daughters or sons. Take care of the siblings and like so much going on in the world, and then not to mention that we're virtual. That it's sometimes too. It definitely takes a toll on their mental health, on their
Yeah.
balance, on everything. So
No, for sure, yeah. And I think coming from, I mean, like my dad worked 16-hour days, right? My mom was working full time and taking care of us growing up as my dad was doing all this work and all this stuff, right? And I think a lot of them, what they did a lot of was put their mental health on the back burner because they had to work, right? And I remember like I went through a lot of really severe depressive episodes throughout high school. My parents were just I don't think they were ever angry with me, but they just couldn't understand because they said, "Mijo, like you have to work before, like you have to work, right? Like you can't. There's no time to be sad, right? Because that's what their parents told them, and it's toxic, right? And for being a first gen low income student at a predominantly white institution, right? When we're trying to constantly prove ourselves, it can be detrimental, like I said earlier, and especially when we're trying to prove to so many people that we belong there, our parents, right? Like I know in high school, right, I had kind of that, I call it the first whitewashing, but like that first experience at a predominantly white institution, it was difficult to tell my parents that I wasn't happy there, right? Because it's like in their eyes, it's like you have everything you want. You don't have to worry about anything, right? You're 16 years old, like you have your school paid for. Like when my parents were 16-year-olds, they were working in the fields, they were picking grapes, right? They were spending hours on their knees cleaning the paths on the vineyards and all this stuff, right? So I always want to remind incoming students with similar circumstances that we can't be successful in making our goals if we don't take care of ourselves, right? We can't do all of that if we're not taking time for self-care, if we're not maintaining our relationships, if if we're not having open communication with our professors and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah. Also, I know I joined a little bit late, so I'm totally down to stay for another extra few minutes. Yeah.
So it's fine. I mean, again, like these you bring so many things you're bringing up. One of the things that you mentioned about your parents, or even, well, and I assume a lot of parents who get to see this or who experience the college experience growing up in this country from immigrant families. Um, I call it the diaspora trauma. So
Yeah.
when folks move from one place to another, and the trauma of like what the things that how they grew up with, or the things that they bring while they come here. I think it's something that's very transmitted
Hmm.
towards their sons, the next generation that's born in this country. I really identify with what you said of like your parents not knowing what you were going through because they didn't go through it, right? Even
Yeah.
when college, and they still don't know. They might have your brother's experience, but your brother's experience is your brother's experience. It's not your.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me too. Like me growing up, like my dad, my parents, all they would tell me, all you have to do is just go to school. All you gotta do is just go in school. You don't have to do anything else. You don't do anything else. It's school, 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 school. But I mean, I'm not a robot who just can. Okay, I'm just gonna do my homework. There's many things I have emotions.
Yeah.
I'm up, but like I don't know what to do. Like it's so many things that I might have not had the best communication with my family because of again things that they experienced as they were growing up, things that the only thing they knew what to do when growing with raising their kids. So I had to, my brother and I, we experienced all the trauma that they had, and it was sent to us now. There
Mhm.
was no like self-care. There was no opportunity to talk about feelings. We never talked
Yeah.
about, hey, that is how I feel. Like it was more of like, you don't cry, you just continue, right? Because that's
Yeah.
how they were taught. And I'm saying, like, it's not their fault. It's like they're victims of this system, of this ideology, of this way of living. So when we take it to the college experience, same thing. Like, it's to this point at times, like, it was kind of hard even today, like, to explain to my parents, like, what is it that I do
Yeah.
as a job. Like, tell me, yeah, I'm a counselor, but they don't really tell them fully what I do, because I'm like, I might tell them, but like, they might not understand.
Yeah.
And it sucks, because many of the pieces, when I joined a fraternity, it took me forever to explain to them what that was, or why I couldn't go home this weekend because I had something to do for college. So many things. So that's obviously a topic for another day. That the trauma, family traumas. That you just inspired me to bring that topic for video for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of that, it's hard being, if we stick to this PWI lens, it's hard, right? If you don't have people that experience that, have experienced that and go through that, right? So in high school for me, and I keep on relating back to high school because I think that was much more a shock to my system in terms of PWI. But when you look around in a classroom, right, and you have a bunch of white kids talking about Latin American refugees to the United States, right? It's so difficult to navigate that space. And then in terms of this intergenerational trauma, well, that's multiplied because they couldn't understand that trauma that your family has gone through to be where you are. And then you have also kids that are saying that you're a scholarship baby and you're a token kid, right?
Mm.
And the idea of tokenism we could talk about all the time, but there's so many complexities to being in this space, existing in this space. But one thing that I always tell my fellow Latino students, especially the kids that are under the same scholarship program at my high school, I always tell them that our existence is resistance, right? Being in these spaces and existing in them is enough, right? And trying our best in that space is enough because it's so damn hard. It's so damn hard, right? But when you look back on it, you know what I mean? Like 6 years ago, I was taking my first step onto my high school's campus. You know what I mean? So nervous. But looking back on it and everything, how I've grown, right? Have you seen me grown? How my parents have seen me grown? All of this stuff. It's been inspiring. It's been amazing. It's been a hell of a ride, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome, man. We'll leave it with that. I think our experiences in our life, our mistakes, our accomplishments, and everything that we've experienced should make us who we are today, and we should be definitely proud of that. And I'm happy you mentioned that. You, like I said, I've known you for a long time now. I've definitely seen you grown. I've definitely spoken to your dad about your trajectory at times and concerns that he's brought. And I hope that we can have this conversation with him, right? And kind of also your mom, so they can see of like understand what had happened to you back in the day versus how you've gone today. It didn't just magically happen. There's happened that we see, the Eduardo we see today. And but yeah, man, thank you so much for joining me today with this in talking about these conversations, being a Latinx and these institutions that were not built for people like us. And so powerful. Your story is so powerful. You have so much. I encourage you to continue exploring, continue being an advocate like I see you, and continue being that amazing leader that I know you have the potential to be.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So that was pretty much it. Thank you so much for Itzel and Eduardo for joining me in this conversation. It's so much. Eduardo and both Itzel brought so many themes of like potential conversations for future videos. I should give them credit for that. If I ever make it big, I'll definitely share the profits. But yeah, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And remember to find your purpose.